Most men believe they would notice instantly. A clear sign, something obvious, something undeniable. But the truth? It's quieter, subtle, dangerous. The real signs don't shout, they whisper. And that's exactly why so many men miss them. 10 telling signs she was with another man recently isn't about paranoia, it's about awareness. Because 10 telling signs she was with another man recently often show up in ways most men were never taught to see. Small shifts, silent patterns. A feeling you can't explain but can't ignore either. If you're a man who wants to understand what's really going on beneath the surface, this might change the way you see everything. So make sure you subscribe to the channel right now, because this is where you learn what most men never do. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Be part of that milestone. Topic 1. The sudden shift in energy, not behavior. He notices it, but he can't quite explain it. Nothing obvious happened. No arguments, no dramatic changes. Honestly, if someone asked him, he'd probably say everything's fine. But deep down, it's not. Because what changed wasn't her behavior. It was her energy. The way she looks at him, how she responds, the time it takes her to reply. Small things that on their own seem harmless. But together, they start telling a story that hasn't been spoken out loud yet. It's like walking into a room and feeling something's off, even though everything looks normal. He starts noticing that her laugh feels a little different. Her touch isn't as natural. Conversations don't flow the same way anymore. It's not full-on coldness. And that's what makes it confusing. It's like she's only half there. It's like part of her is present, and the other part is somewhere else. And the more he tries to ignore it, the louder those silent signals get in his mind. A classic example. She still says I love you, still texts, still shows up. But something about it feels different. It used to feel real, now it feels automatic. It used to feel connected, now it feels like a routine. And that messes with him, because there's no concrete proof, just a persistent feeling that something is off. And that's where the danger lies. Because when the energy shifts before the actions do, it usually means something has already started, even if it hasn't been revealed yet. Topic 2. Inconsistent emotional availability. He starts feeling like he's dealing with two different versions of her. One day, she's present, affectionate, engaged, texting, starting conversations, showing real interest. The next, she feels distant, cold, almost indifferent. And the weirdest part? There's no clear reason for it. No fight, no obvious tension. It's like something inside her is shifting. And he's trying to keep up with a rhythm that never stays the same. This kind of emotional inconsistency creates confusion. Because when someone is consistently cold, it's easier to understand. But when they switch between warm and distant, it hooks you. He starts questioning himself. Was it something I did? Maybe she's just going through something. And without realizing it, he gets stuck in a cycle where he values the good moments more, while ignoring the bad ones. It's almost like a psychological trap, where small doses of attention keep him emotionally invested. In real life, it shows up in subtle ways. One day she replies, fast, engages, seems interested in everything he says. The next, short replies, delays, no curiosity. And when he tries to understand, she says she's tired, busy, or just not feeling great. And sure, that can be true. But when it becomes a pattern, it's no longer random, it's behavior. And that's when he needs to stop focusing on what she says and start paying attention to the pattern behind what she does. Because the next sign starts right where compensation begins. Topic 3. Overcompensating kindness or guilt behavior. At some point, he starts noticing something strange. She's being too nice, more attentive than usual, more affectionate, more present, almost like she's trying to make up for something he doesn't even know happened. At first, it feels great. I mean, who wouldn't want more attention, more compliments, more care? But over time, it starts to feel off. Because it didn't come from a natural growth in the relationship, it came out of nowhere. There's a well-known psychological pattern here. When someone feels guilty, they often try to balance it out with positive behavior. It's like subconsciously, she's thinking if I do enough good things, it cancels out the bad. The problem is, this extra kindness doesn't feel as genuine as before. He starts sensing that the gestures are a bit forced, that the compliments feel scripted, that the attention carries a subtle layer of tension. A common example? She starts sending unusually sweet messages out of nowhere, or suddenly puts in extra effort to please things that weren't part of her usual behavior. Or after a period of distance, She shows up extremely close again, like nothing ever happened. That contrast feels strange, like an emotional spike that doesn't match the recent past. And that imbalance raises a quiet red flag. Because when someone overcompensates, it usually means something somewhere is out of place. And the next sign starts revealing that imbalance in a way that's even harder to hide. Topic 4. Increased phone secrecy patterns. This is one of the most classic signs, and at the same time, one of the most overlooked at the beginning, because it doesn't start in an obvious way. It's not like she suddenly hides everything overnight. Subtle, small changes. The phone that used to be left anywhere is now always close. The screen that used to be visible is now always face down. Notifications that used to pop up freely now disappear in silence. At first, he tries not to overthink it. After all, everyone deserves privacy, right? And yes, that's true. But this isn't about privacy. It's about a change in pattern. Because when someone has nothing to hide, their behavior tends to stay consistent. What stands out isn't the action itself, but the shift. And that shift often comes with small signs of tension. A quick glance when a notification pops up, a slight body movement, a pause before answering something simple. In real life, it shows up in specific ways. She starts taking her phone everywhere, even for quick things like going to the bathroom or grabbing something in the kitchen. Or when she's next to him, she responds to messages more discreetly, slightly turning her body away, creating a subtle barrier. None of this proves anything on its own, but when these behaviors stack up, they form a pattern that's hard to ignore. That's where things get more sensitive, because the next sign isn't just about behavior, it's about how she reacts when that behavior is noticed. Topic 5. Subtle changes in routine that don't add up at first. It just feels like coincidence. An extra commitment here, a delay there, a small change in routine that, on its own, means nothing. He tries to stay rational, telling himself it's normal. Everyone has off days. But as these small changes start repeating, something stops adding up. It's not about one specific event. It's about the overall picture starting to feel off. What really gets to him isn't the change itself, but the lack of consistency in the explanations. One day she says she was busy with work. The next she mentions something that doesn't quite match the previous story. These aren't obvious lies, they're small gaps, details that feel slightly out of place. It's like trying to solve a puzzle where some pieces don't quite fit, even though they look like they should. And the more he tries to ignore it, the more these inconsistencies stand out. A common example: schedules that don't quite make sense, last-minute plan changes, or new routines that show up without much context. Nothing extreme, nothing obvious, but enough to create that feeling that something isn't right. And the problem is, when routine loses its predictability, trust starts to lose its foundation. And when that foundation starts to shake, the next sign doesn't show up just in behavior. It shows up in the most intimate connection between them. Topic 6. Emotional detachment during intimate moments. This is where things start to hit harder, because now it's not just about external behavior, it's about connection. It's moments that used to feel natural, intense, almost automatic start feeling different. He notices that even when they're together, there's an invisible distance. She's physically there, but emotionally somewhere else. This isn't something you need words to understand. Your body feels it before your mind accepts it. What makes it confusing is that, on the surface, everything still happens. Conversations continue. Physical contact might still be there, but the quality is different. Eye contact doesn't hold. Attention feels scattered. Presence feels incomplete. It's like talking to someone who's on their phone while saying they're listening. Technically they're there, but not really. And that kind of disconnection creates a strange emptiness, because it's not total absence, it's partial presence. A clear example: she takes longer to respond during deeper conversations, seems less engaged, or reacts more automatically instead of naturally. And that creates a weird feeling in him, like he's trying to connect with someone who's no longer fully available. And when emotional intimacy starts to break down, there's usually a reason behind it, and the next sign shows how that reason starts protecting itself more actively, especially when questioned. Topic 7. Defensive reactions to neutral questions. This is where things become even more revealing, because now it's not just what she does, but how she reacts when he tries to understand. Simple neutral questions that used to be answered naturally
How?
trigger defensive, short, or even irritated responses. And that catches him off guard, because he's not accusing, he's just trying to understand. But suddenly, everything feels like it's being taken as an attack. This kind of reaction usually carries something deeper than the question itself. When someone is emotionally at ease, basic questions don't create tension. When there's something being hidden, even the smallest curiosity can feel threatening. That's when responses like, "Why are you asking that?" or "Don't you trust me?" start showing up, or even a reversal where he ends up feeling guilty just for wanting clarity. It's subtle, but incredibly effective. In everyday situations, this can happen in very normal moments. He asks how her day was, or mentions something he didn't quite understand, and the response comes with a different tone, more rigid, more closed off, sometimes even impatient. And what stands out is that the reaction often feels bigger than the question itself. That creates discomfort, making him hesitate before asking again. And when that happens, something shifts. Because the space for transparency shrinks and the next sign starts using distance as a justification. Topic 8. Sudden need for more personal space. Out of nowhere, she starts talking more about space, needing time for herself, wanting to be alone, clearing her mind. And again, that's not wrong by itself. Everyone needs space sometimes. The key here isn't the request, it's the change in pattern. Because before, closeness felt natural, wanted. Now, distance starts getting justified more often, usually without a clear reason. What stands out is how this space is framed. It doesn't feel like personal growth, like someone trying to reflect or improve. It feels more like emotional distance disguised as independence. He starts feeling like he's being kept at arm's length, not directly, but through explanations that sound reasonable on the surface, yet create a barrier underneath. A common example? She cancels plans more often, prefers doing things alone that they used to do together, or reduces time together without a clear explanation. And when he tries to understand, the answer is ready. "I just need some time for myself." And maybe that's true. But when this pattern shows up alongside other signs, it stops being just about space. It starts pointing to something bigger, a growing disconnection. And that's where the next sign becomes even more revealing, because not everything can be controlled, especially what the body reveals without permission. Topic 9. Micro expressions of discomfort or anxiety. Now we're getting into a deeper level. It's a much more revealing one, because no matter how much someone tries to control their words and actions, the body almost always leaks small, involuntary signals. Quick expressions, barely noticeable, like a brief eye shift, a pause before answering, a subtle change in tone. Things most people miss, but not someone who's paying attention. He starts picking up on these signals almost unconsciously. It's that strange feeling during a conversation, like something is slightly off. And when he replays the moment in his head, he notices details. She hesitated before answering something simple, looked away at a specific moment, or showed a hint of tension in a topic that used to be normal. It's not obvious. It's more like the body quietly hinting that something's not comfortable. In real situations, this can happen in very specific moments. For example, when he mentions a time, a place, or something that touches a sensitive point, her reaction shifts for a split second, fast enough to go unnoticed, but strong enough to leave an impression. And the key here is that these signals aren't planned. They slip out. And when these small slips start repeating, they stop being coincidences. They become a silent pattern, one that connects directly to something he's been feeling all along, and that's exactly what the next sign brings to the surface in a way that's impossible to ignore. Topic 10. Your intuition keeps whispering. Something is off deep down. He already knows. Maybe not with proof, maybe not with perfect logic, but he knows. It's that feeling that won't go away, that shows up in quiet moments, that bothers him even when everything looks fine on the surface. And the interesting part? He tries to ignore it. He tries to rationalize, find explanations, convince himself he's overthinking. But the more he tries to silence that intuition, the louder it gets. The truth is, the human brain is incredibly good at recognizing patterns. Long before he can explain it in words, his mind has already connected the dots. Small behaviors, subtle changes, inconsistencies, that together tell a story. But since there's no concrete proof, he gets stuck in an internal conflict. Trust what he feels, or trust what he can prove. And that's where most men get trapped, waiting for undeniable evidence. While all the signs are already there, a simple example, he looks back at recent moments and realizes that the feeling of something's off was present in many of them. It wasn't just one situation, it was a repeating emotional pattern. And when he finally starts accepting that, something shifts. Because now, it's no longer is this happening. It becomes, what am I going to do with what I already see? And that's where everything changes, because recognizing the signs is just the beginning. The next step requires something most men avoid facing: conclusion. After all of this, the real question isn't just, was she with another man? The real question is, what are you going to do with the signs you've already seen? Are you going to ignore them again? Pretend you didn't notice? Or are you finally going to trust your own perception? Because at the end of the day, the men who grow aren't the ones who have all the answers. They're the ones who stop lying to themselves. So tell me in the comments, which of these signs have you already noticed and chose to ignore? And more importantly, why? That kind of reflection changes everything. And if you want to keep learning the psychology behind female behavior, avoid silent mistakes, and build a stronger, more aware mindset, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because this is where you learn what most men only realize when it's too late.